But to start with, I think I'm just going to talk around our website, just because you've probably not been back on there in quite some time. So we released a new website a couple of days ago, just in line with our whole plan to kind of get to the testing stage at the end of February. And I think I still need to do a little bit of work on it, but hopefully it gives you a clearer picture of what Planning Beats is going to do. And I'll be honest with you, as a group of DJs, especially people in the system at the moment, I'd love to just have any feedback on that if you've got any spare time. But in terms of where we're going, if we go and have a look at the features, I'm just going to kind of remind everyone where we're at. So we'll ignore all the features for now, and we'll just look at the roadmap. So at the end of this month, everything you can see on the screen at the moment, we are going to get into the platform and will be operational. There may be a few tweaks, and this is the whole point of this kind of next period, is to allow everybody to give us some feedback, but it will work and will allow you to send leads, send proposals and brochures, deal with your bookings, you'll have the client portal, all that kind of stuff. And then during testing, so in the run up to the end of April, we'll be bringing in the web forms, the bespoke branding, the dashboard, the workflows and automation, the music preparation system, and then we'll go over to our paid model. So if you are one of our early backers, it means that your subscription won't start until that point. So kind of back end of April. And obviously, if you're in the system testing it for free, we won't switch this over to a paid subscription until that date. So you get quite a long period in the system just to have a play around. But do be aware that there are going to be bugs. This is what this whole process is for. So please do bear with it and let us know when you find things through the support button, which will be working at that point. And then in terms of phase two, you can go and check out the phase two roadmap on the website as well. We'll be updating the delivery dates in line with our new timeline, and we'll do that at some point in the future once we've got through this testing period. But what you're all here to see is the system, so let's get into it. So as it stands, we've got our lead system in, our booking system in, the staff system, the equipment and services, and quite a few of the settings as well now. Now, the system that I'm on today is not the beta system. It's my one that I get before that. So if you're currently in testing, you might think, hold on a minute, my leads don't change color and things like that. We'll be releasing that over to you to have a test and play with at the end of the week, just so you're aware. So I'm going to try and cover some kind of general stuff, how the system works, how you get from A to B. But if there's any questions in the process, just let me know. So I think to start, we'll just add a lead, keep things really simple. So you've got your leads funnel at the top, which we went through in the last call, and you can flick through those and just see which kind of funnels you want to be working with. As you can see, all the converted will go to green, and then all of your lost will go to red. Now, when something's converted, what it will do is it will turn it into a booking. It will open their client portal. But in most cases, we'll be dealing with this in the proposal or brochure system, where you're sending a nice, pretty web page to your client. They'll then go through and either accept what you've suggested for them, or in the brochure form, they'll pick what they actually want, add it up like a shopping cart, and then sign their contract and actually make their deposit payment, and then instantly get into their client portal. So it's quite a nice journey for the customer. You'll be able to manipulate that journey with this new back-end settings that we're building at the moment. So depending on how you work, this system should adapt and adjust accordingly. But as always, if there's anything you think we've missed, let us know. So to secure a booking, you can decide whether the client has to pay a deposit, whether they have to pay the full balance, or whether they can pay it later. And you can do the same with the contract as well. And that's for both proposals and brochures. And you can also do this separately for your venue and agents, which is a feature that I'll get onto in a little bit later into this call. But yeah, you can go in here, you can say, right, we're going to let them pay a deposit, they can pay a full balance, or they can pay later. You should actually be able to turn all three of those on. As I say, we're building this, so you can give them all three options. You can then go and stipulate what the booking fee is going to be, whether it's fixed, whether it's a percentage, and you'll be able to adapt based on that. So this isn't quite done yet, but hopefully gives you a gauge on how you will be able to actually manage that sales process. So picking up from there, the other new kind of feature that we've put in to take into consideration people using other payment processors that might not be in the system yet is this booking URL button. Now, you've got two options here, but what it will essentially do is turn the Pay Now button into an external link. So if you want to use QuickBooks, anything other than Stripe in this initial period, you can do so. And you can change this per client, or you can just put a generic URL in there. So it will allow you to then accept payments through other systems. The only thing to bear in mind is you'll then have to come back into Planning Beats and actually amend that and manually add that payment into the client's account. So it's worth bearing in mind, but something we thought was worth doing in this interim period before we start phase two and get more payment processors in. The payment processing thing has been quite interesting, actually, speaking to so many DJs across 5 or 6 different countries. So have a look at our website. If you think there's any missing, please, as always, just let me know. So that will give you your setup essentially to allow that proposal and brochure sales system. So if we go back to the leads, this will make a bit more sense now when you actually add a lead in terms of these bottom areas here. So if we just go and put a date in and some times. One thing that is worth noting is we are going to give you the option to have 24 or 12-hour clocks, because I'd appreciate that military time, as some people call it, is not the best for everybody. We've now got the Google API going, so you can just go in there and search for any venue really easily. This will be used in the web form system that will go on your website as well, just to make the client's experience easier. We haven't implemented this for things like the client's address and staff address at this point. We just wanted to get this stable in those 2 areas and then see where we go from there. You can then give your event a name, so we'll just go with the test event for now. Pick an event type. And then these 3 bottom drop downs, I've had some questions on, so I'll just explain them. The client portal, which I'm going to get into in depth in a later video this month, but you can go and have a whole template of your timeline, the questions that you're going to ask, and you can preload them at this stage. So when the customer has accepted their proposal or their brochure, they have the right client portal straight away and can start playing around with music and answering questions. So it's quite a fun experience for them as soon as they've paid you some money, instead of potentially having to wait until you set up an account and send it over to them. That's not functional at the moment. It is coming, I think, next week. So again, when I do the client portal specific call, I'll cover that. Yeah, Alan, please fire away with any questions. If anybody's got any in the chat, feel free, and I'll stop every now and again and look through them. Under here, we've got the contracts. So the contracts are up and running now for anybody that's testing this. And I'm just going to go and select a contract. And again, that means that that can now be pre-selected in the proposals and brochures system. And finally, finance, which we haven't quite finished yet. But what this will allow you to do, I think the best way for me to show this is just to jump in the finance in a sec. But it will allow you to give options for the client in terms of how they will actually pay. So the first option is invoice only, whether it is invoice and your payment gateway with Stripe, which is what we're starting off with, and then the additional payment gateways that are coming in phase 2. Or you can have that custom URL button that I discussed earlier, so it will take the client out of Planning Beats and off into whatever system you like. As I mentioned earlier, just be aware that that will create some manual work for you. For now, though, just to get this through, I think that's one I've not used before. Lovely. And then the next step, once you've added that lead, is to either send the email, the proposal, or the brochure. We are currently building the back end of the brochure system and proposal system, which I'll show you shortly, but we're not quite there with the front end, so we can't go any further really at this stage. I can kind of show you with send proposal that you'll now have this equipment builder, but again, not quite finished, where the rates are coming through and things like that, where you can see here. But you'll be able to add whatever service you want, whatever extra services, go through to the next, it will then populate your invoice. Down here, you've got automated travel, which I'll show you the back end for in a minute, but essentially you can set some predefined limits and then it will automatically calculate your travel fee. And then you'll hit the send proposal brochure and it will take you off to give you a good option to pick a proposal template, edit it if you need to, and then send it off to the client via email. This entire system will also be automated once we get the automations and the web forms in. So you don't always need to be doing this manually. And obviously the web forms will populate your leads and continue from there. So this is just kind of the basics at the moment. I'm going to stop now and just answer a few questions. When you select midnight on the end time, with this stay on the same day as the software has? Yeah, so we're going to say essentially what this will end up doing is 11:59 because it drives me up the wall when it moves into that second day of the calendar. So that is the plan at the moment, that midnight keeps it into 1 day period. It might be that you opt to use the 12-hour format though, Alan. So yes, if you select midnight, it will keep it within that 1 day. It's an interesting question there. So instead of having access to the questions immediately after they book, is there a way to make them wait? So at the moment, no, but this is what this next couple of months is all about. So if you could give me some reasoning in the comments why, and if anybody else supports that, it'd be a really interesting concept to explore. For me, I want people in there straight away, get answering those questions, and I'll show you how this is all laid out shortly. But yeah, I'd be interested to know the reasons for that and if we can kind of accommodate that. So very quickly back into the lead system. There are a few options that are going to be available to you. So you're going to be able to come in here and assign staff. Now, when you assign staff to a lead, that doesn't mean that they're going to work the job. This is a very different type of staff assignment. This is actually who's going to manage this sale. So they are two completely different things. Don't think that that will take that over into the booking, because it won't. This is all about, in my case, I'm a solo op, so it's me and my girlfriend. She helps me out. And the current system I use right now, we're always kind of guessing and fighting over who's doing which one. So this just rectified that for us. So that is how this is set up, is a sales staff assignment. And then you do your event staff assignment after that. You've also got bulk email and bulk SMS, which we'll be bringing in with the email and SMS system in the next week or two. And then reschedule follow-up, which you can do in bulk, which I'll just show you now. Very basic, and again, is probably for the users that aren't going to be using things like automations. But if we go, we're going to follow up with everyone tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then that will just go in and change that to say, right, in 19 hours, I need to contact them, and you'll get notified that you need to do that. You've obviously got archive and delete all as well, but I won't do that because it'll ruin my setup. And then just down here at the end, there are some extra options as well. So you can duplicate leads. We'll be able to go in and edit and view the proposal from here as well. But you can also convert it to a booking, which would be the manual way of just going, hey, let's convert this to a booking. That's turned green. It's locked any editing in the leads area, and that's now gone and made that booking. Other than that, you've got your quick access to SMS, email, so the inbox essentially, and your brochure and proposal send option as well, just depending on how you work. You've got some basic filtering here as well, which I won't go into because it's on all the pages, but yeah, filtering everywhere. You can import and export everywhere as well, which I think is really important. So the key one for me that we do that not everybody does. I'm not saying that there aren't softwares out there that do it, but export what you want. It seems that CRMs and event planning tools get into the space of, no, let's keep everybody in and don't let them get their data out. But if you want it in a spreadsheet, it will just pull all that out so you can go and manipulate that in other ways. Same with the importing as well, really easy, and you can do this for everything. So equipment, services, your bookings, your leads, staff, you can drag them all in using Excel spreadsheets. What will happen over the next couple of weeks is we'll be putting a file here as a template. You download that, pop your data in, start the upload, and it just puts it all in there for you. I'm just going to stop again and just answer one question. So it's just a follow-up question around this kind of delay of giving someone their client portal. And I'm going to explore that because it's quite interesting and it might be a simple simple toggle button. So we already have auto lockout, so the client can't access 3 days before the event, 10 days, whatever you might do. So I guess it would go the other way, and hide the timeline section. So we can have a look at that. I can't guarantee that I'd necessarily get it in time for the main release, but it might be something we can look at phase 2 depending on complications. So I'll explore that and pop something into the group and let you all know how I get on. I'm actually going to I'm going to make a note of that for myself now, otherwise I'll forget. Interesting concept though, and I can kind of agree with you. I can imagine that some clients will be asking 21 questions for 2 years, so I can feel that. Right then. So that is leads really done. Quite an easy thing to get right. Once we get the proposal system in, we'll go from there. I will very quickly show you the brochures, but I'm going to also show you how we're about to massively change it, which is all the fun of development. But if we go into templates and the brochure templates or proposal, which doesn't seem to, there we go. So this system was highly requested to be fully customizable. Now, what we'll do to help you is we will make a couple of templates and share them with you, so you can just go in there and easily change them. The idea is that you can add multiple pages, so you take your client on a journey through the brochure. That means that on page 1, you can have a welcome. On page 2, you could do some videos and testimonials if you like. On page 3, you could put your services. On page 4, you could put your contract. On page 5, you could put your invoice, and then from there, they then get through to the client portal. So it's optional how you build this. You build this to suit your business. You could have a page for services, extra services. And the benefit here is obviously you can build them specific for event types, different clients that you've got, whatever kind of effort you need to put in for your business. You can do this and duplicate them and edit them and tweak them. Very quickly, I will show you around. This is a lot of work in progress, this one. And we've actually realized that we've made the entire building screen too small for what is going to be a web page. So I'll show you roughly how I'm going to change that shortly. But it's quite an easy kind of thing to use. You just drag in your layers. You can go in there and have a look at your different layout options. All very familiar stuff. Go in and put text, image, different sections and things like that. You can then add text. Lots of work to do on the text again. We're going to completely change this system here. This was just to get the ball rolling, but it'd be quite a slick drop down sort of normal bar that you see on most softwares these days with fonts, colors, etc., etc. But this was just to get the kind of the coding sorted to then do the pretty stuff after. We've got some quite neat features in terms of quick company info and booking info as well. So you can add that into these proposals, and they're all using smart fields. We've got our smart fields drop down as well, which is quite extensive and something that I think is going to massively grow with the support of everybody that gets involved with the testing. It's going to be it's very difficult for me to get everything spot on, and thanks to the group, there's been a ton of changes. But I think once we get everybody in here, it'll be, oh, actually, I could really do with a smart field for that, and just drop us an email. And as long as it's not a crazy option that doesn't even exist in the system, if it's just pulling basic data, we'll definitely do that for you. What else have we got going on? The pages aren't playing ball at the moment because we're in dev. Or are they now? No, they might be. No, they are. Lovely. So you better drag and drop your contracts in here as well, and then you can go and pick what template you want. So you can have multiple contracts and pick which one suits this template. You can also add in your contract. Not your contract, sorry. Your invoice. Obviously, this is kind of our view, and then this is their preview. But they can actually go and pay. You can display the different options that are available. You don't have to offer all of these. And they'll have their pay now button and the option to download receipts and things like that. What else have we got in brochures? Got the client portal button, which is very boring at the moment. It doesn't seem to want to work either, which is fine. Essentially the client portal button. So that might be a way to do it actually, is you just don't add the client portal option into your last page. That might be a quick and easy way to do things. I will look specifically into that limitation for you, but that might just be a shortcut if you want to do that initially. What else have we got? So you can load YouTube videos. We need to work on the clickability of that. But you can go and drop your URLs in here. And again, just really helps if you've got a layer of 3, you can now embed 3 videos. You can do them in relation to your services. So in terms of services, actually, that's probably another good one to bring in. We've got your services here, so you can actually go and search for them and add them into the system, and then it will display them. Again, work in progress for us. There was yesterday, although it seems to have disappeared. There are going to be multiple ways to display these services as well. So you can have them on sliders, grid view with images, etc., just so it fits what you need to do. So yeah, this is coming along nicely. By nowhere, no means is it actually complete yet. And it'd be quite nice to update everybody in the next week or two with kind of how this has ended up. Very quickly, I will bring in my big mistake, which is quite a nice, easy fix, thankfully. But what we're going to be doing is actually making it this wide because it's going to load on a computer screen and also on a mobile. So when you hit the preview button, it gives you a URL that you can test it on your mobile phone and on your computer. And yeah, we just need to make the building space wider. So we're gonna mess around with the UI a little bit and move over those elements and the template settings and things up here just to automatically collapse the left-hand menu and give you lots of space to work. And you'll be able to send a test as well. All very normal stuff. And one of the key points in here actually is you'll be able to auto save. So we have this feature in the contract templates at the moment. Auto save in here. I got very upset one day because I built a contract and I forgot to hit save and it wasn't there anymore. So we're going to implement that anywhere we can. It's very easy for us to do now, and hopefully we'll make everyone's lives a little bit easier. Contracts I did cover in a video on the group. They're quite a basic thing. If anyone wants me to really dive into this, do let me know. I'll probably move on if nobody drops a comment in now. But essentially, you've got a few options. You can toggle the header bar off, on and off here. You can toggle the side logo off. You can make it so it auto signs the contract after the client has signed. And you can also make all the contract options disappear, which means this then just turns into a set of terms and conditions. So hopefully that adapts to everybody's way of working, and then tons of color optimization and things like that. This is quite a good idea of how the entire branding is going to work on the website. So obviously go and change sidebar colors to red. Well, when you're doing that in the branding section, it will change all the buttons, all the horrible purple that I keep getting told about. You can go and make that black, match your brand colors. You'll also be able to change the logo and put your own URL over the top. I'm just going to stop for another quick question. Alan, can we start editing this now, Dan, or do we need to wait for the 28th of Feb? No, things like contracts you can start messing around with now. They're not going to go anywhere. So if you're one of our early backers, you can jump in, have a play around with that, and we can move that over for you. The other option you do have is if you just want to play around and just kind of see what the system is about, we can delete your account and get you to start again. So it's totally up to you, really, how you want to play this. We'll be able to kind of facilitate either way. So if you just want to mess around and then start fresh on the 28th when things are a bit more stable and you can build your contracts and your client portal templates, by all means. Right then, what else we've got in here whilst we're in settings? So we've done travel settings, I believe. No, we didn't do travel settings. So travel settings I did mention in the proposal system and will be part of the entire web form and quoting system should you wish to turn it on. What it's going to do is allow you to pick whether you're working in miles or kilometers, put your price per additional mile, put the default calculation method down, so free, one way, or double, whether you're going there and back. You can put in a free distance radius if you'd like, so you could say you do 20 miles, 20 kilometers for free. Put your maximum travel distance, so it won't allow people to do the quotes if they are out of your working radius, and allow a base rate as well for that. so how much you're actually going to charge for those additional miles. And then you will be able to add specific ones for different services as well, which I think is really important. You might have a specific service where it's, I don't know, collection, it's only a collection item or something like that. So you don't want this whole travel calculation system working on that one specific service. So we've taken that into consideration as well. So hopefully that'll be quite nice. And just a way to make sure you cover your fuel costs and any other travel expenses you want to take into consideration. While I'm here, I think it's probably worth me sharing this with you. And this is actually the subscriptions and what you're going to see. So, as you know, we're charging per user, and by doing that, we we added a lot of perks because we did realize that there were many scenarios that didn't quite suit or fit charging for a specific member of staff. So if you have a member of your office team that just needs to manage leads and doesn't need to be assigned to a gig and scheduled to events, you can have them totally for free and they're unlimited. All you need to do when adding a staff member is select office staff, and that will then basically make them free and not bill you for them. You also have one free user for every user you pay for. It's quite nice just as a way to grow your team, and you can use those for up to 5 events. And there's quite a good example here as we're developing this, that it will come in here and say that this person has reached their event limit. It would say 5 out of 5 events there, and would be asking you to either pause their account or pay for them. So just a kind of understanding and hopefully give you a bit more information into how that system is going to work. Right then. I think next I'm going to go to services because I really do want to leave the booking portal alone. Although actually before I do that, because I did say I was going to, we'll just have a look at finance, just for those options that we discussed earlier. So here is what you'll see as a DJ managing finances. You'll have the service title, you'll have the quantity, the price. This is all auto-calculated from that event builder you saw when we were building the lead. You can then add individual custom lines, which I think is really important. There's always that one extra thing that we really can't be bothered to add as a service that we just need to deal with. So you can do that if you need to. And then you've got your travel fee calculation down here. But under that, you can then actually specify how the client can pay. So you can do your invoice only, invoice and payment gateway, which in the first instance will be Stripe. And then you can do just a payment gateway link, which is that custom link that I said that could go off to QuickBooks or any other system that you have. But do be aware that you'll have to come back in and record a manual payment. When going for the invoice and payment gateway, invoice only, or the payment gateway link, you can create a plan. And these plan options are, I think they cover everything. I can't really work out a way that it wouldn't work for everyone, but again, please let me know. You can do your normal booking retainer and then a final balance, which is quite simple and I think is how most DJs work. This will be pre-populated with data from that set of settings that I showed you earlier. So if you opt to do a deposit and a final balance, you don't need to go in here every time and fix that. You can just tell it a percentage or a fixed rate and it will work with that. You've then got the option to pay in equal installments, which was requested by quite a few people. So we've added that in. You can just break it into 4. And then the bit that covers hopefully everybody is the custom payment plan, where you can just do whatever you want. Just keep adding more and more options as we go. And I think the only other thing that's worth being aware of is in the options for the paying the booking retainer and final balance, it just gives the client the option, if you allow it, to pay the final balance in whatever multiples they wish. So I have clients that will come in and pay me £50 a week. I let them do that. Some DJs won't. So hopefully that covers everything for everybody. But if you think anything's missing, let me know. So a quick question from DJ Dunny, which I'm going to answer by going over to some settings, is will everybody see the euro sign? So no, don't panic. I'm actually in Great British pounds at the moment. But if we go into our settings and the general business settings, you've got all of your time, date format, what day you want your calendar to start on the week. You've got that time format option that I was suggesting earlier. You've got your currency code and symbol, and you've also got your tax options down at the bottom as well. We're probably about a day or two away from finishing this. So I will do another video specifically on this, just general business settings, because this comes up a lot. Is it just you're from the UK, Dan? Is this just going to be in pounds? So no, don't worry. This will be covered for all countries, and this is one of the key option or key reasons why we went for Stripe first, is because it is the one that covers all of the countries that we've sold in the best with the most options. So as an example, if you set Klarna up on Stripe, we're working on a system that will then pull that option from Stripe and allow the client to make a payment through that. That again is just being rounded off now, but you've got different options in Stripe that you can set up for your business, and you can then pull them through into our system. And the plan will be to do the same with all of the other payment gateways that are in phase 2. If they can deliver it, we will pull it from their API. So I hope that helps a little bit. Right then, next up, I think we'll do some services, because this is really important, a little bit complex if you want to go for it. If you don't, really easy to use. So I don't know if anybody saw the video that I released probably a few weeks ago now, possibly even a month ago, around how to add a service, but I'm just going to very quickly run through that and just give you an idea of how this works. I'm going to do it by editing a service that I've already got, just because it'd be a bit easier. But just to start with, I'll explain what's on the front screen. So we've got the drop down option to see all extra services or services. Now there's a gentleman who is not in this call right now, actually, that has given me a ton of ideas. I'm not going to give his name away, but he is asked, and rightfully so, to bring in service bundles, which will essentially be your packages. We're going to do that before we release at the end of April. That will allow you to take extra services, combine them, and sell them at a new price. So I just thought that's worth mentioning, because it doesn't appear anywhere at the moment in terms of our website, or even online anywhere, I don't believe. Before I jump into this, I'm just going to answer one more question. She's Karen. Will this only work in English-speaking countries? Yes, for the first release, it will. Thankfully, language translation has become a lot easier, but we want to get this right in English first before we go and move this over into French, German, etc. It's high on our priority for business success. So yeah, that will come at some point. But we just want to make sure that there's spelling mistakes in here now. Unfortunately, it's not my forte is spelling. That's probably why I'm a DJ. So we'll get it right in English first and move from there. But really good question. Thank you. So yeah, packages, we'll be able to do those. We're going to call them service bundles. You'll then be able to sell those in your proposals, in your brochures, on your website, really easily. And the benefit of this is it will drive the availability just based on the services and the extra services. You don't need to do all that availability again, which I'll get into now. So here we have it. I've gone to town on this because I like to go really in depth with my pricing. But if you wanted to, this service rates here, you could just put one price and just have it span the length of time. But I'll get into this in a bit more depth now. So you've got your very basic service title, upload image. You've also got a description. Again, we're going to work on fonts and coloring and stuff like that in this box, because that's going to be what shows in your brochures and proposals. So just be aware of that. As you can see, I've just copied some formatted text in at the moment. So the box can take that. We just need to add those extra little buttons. You've then got your service tag ID, and this is actually the same for equipment. And the reason for this is in our phase 3 discussions at the moment, one of the big things was equipment scanning and service scanning. So you can check things out. We're talking phase 3 here, but we're setting the base for that, which is why you've got these service tag IDs. It just allows you to essentially itemize everything, whether it's a piece of equipment or a service. It would be like an invoice number where it just automatically goes up. You don't need to worry about it unless you already have a system in place. You then got your categories. These are all preloaded. I've shown how to use funnels before, but there's the edit funnels button and you can change these to whatever you'd like. You've got a tax exempt button, which will just remove the tax, but this is not applicable for this specific service, but just covers people that do a few extra additional items that could be tax applicable in certain countries. And then this is where the fun begins, I guess, is these toggle buttons. So we've got the option to sell it as a service, an extra service, or both. The service bundles will be a separate pop-up, so that won't feature here. But services essentially can be booked on their own by a client. So my best example for that is uplighting. I don't sell that on its own. It can only be ordered alongside my DJ services. Whereas I know DJs that do just go, yeah, if you just want to book that, fine, we'll deliver it, big companies. So you have that option to allow something to be a service, an extra service that can only be booked alongside a key main service, or you can show it as both, which means it will be bookable as just an individual service or an extra service. And we're working the logic out now for that of how it shows in the proposals and brochures, but just gives that full flexibility. You've then got the duration. So with these services, they are fixed on duration. So if you wanted to make a 5-hour DJ service and a 6-hour DJ service, you could do that in one of two ways. You could duplicate this and change it to a 6-hour, or you could add some extra services that are additional hours past midnight or something like that. You've also got a guide for setup time and pack down time. Now, this is what is going to drive your automated check-in and check-out of equipment, which I won't cover on this system, on this call, sorry, but it is a system in place. And it will also show in the client portal to let them know when they are when they're going to be able to expect you to arrive and expect you to depart. If you're using multiple services, it will automatically add all this together in your event builder, and you can tweak that in the client portal if it gets it wrong, because it's just life, isn't it? Sometimes we can put stuff in quicker if the team's bigger and stuff like that. Up here, we've got another option, which is rental and consumable. I'd expect 99.9% of the time we're all using rental, but confetti cannons, print cartridges for printers, stuff like that, if you're into photo booths, is a consumable. So that will allow you to actually track the stock and it will deplete as you sell them. So if you put your quantity in here as 20, it will then drop that down every time you sell them. And once you get to that certain point, you can actually trigger a stock level alert. So if you turn that on, it'll send you a notification when you've only got 5 of them left, which I'm going to use for my confetti cannons as a solo DJ. Might not be as useful for some of you, but is an option there to be aware of. And then finally, I guess the key thing here is what determines availability. So you've got the option to just do it based on staff calendar, which as a solo op is what I'm going to do. It's just whether I'm free or not, whether they can book it. You've got quantity, so you might just say, well, we can do a 10 uplighting package 3 times, so we'll just put the quantity. We're not going to worry about the staff. And then you've got the option for both as well. And that pretty much rounds off the kind of the key setup of a service. There's a lot going on, but it gives you the power to then automate everything. So yeah, any questions on that, let me know in the comments. Now, the big one for me is service rates, because this actually allows you to dynamically think about your pricing in the future. So if you are to have a look at your prices and say, actually, I'm going to increase my price every year, you can now build that into this system, and I will very quickly show you how. So I've gone with weddings for all of this. I'm keeping this as a wedding specific service. I'm going to say I'm going to charge $7.95. I'm going to show this online, whereas if it's internal only, only you as the DJ or your staff will be able to see that if they've got the permissions to build events. You've then got the option for price and inquire. So if it's inquiry only, it means in the proposal they won't be able to add it and pay for it. It will be something that they can inquire about. As an example for me, my dance floors I don't own, I subcontract them in, so I don't want to automate that. I want somebody to be able to say, hey, I want to book you for a DJ, which they can automate, and then inquire about a dance floor price. That's probably good for anybody that's subcontracting, and I'm sure some DJs out there will come up with some really cool ways of using that. So that is what that button does, and we have come to the conclusion that we're probably going to put some little helpers on these, just like we've started doing in the settings, just to help kind of keep this fresh into people's minds, because nobody wants to watch a video of me every 2 minutes as you're trying to build this out. So something we're looking to improve there. Then all these final categories are dealt with by the manage dates option at the end. And you get this pop-up screen, which has got all that information there and a calendar. Now, I have gone and picked a start and end date range, which covers 2025. If you don't want to get into this, just put it until when you think you're going to stop DJing or when you don't want to be selling. So if you only want to open your diary 2 years in advance, base it on that. You can then assign event types. So if you don't assign an event type, it assumes you're picking all of them. However, I want this to be a wedding only, so it will now only show this price for a wedding. And then available days. So for me, I've gone with Sundays, Fridays, and Saturdays. That's when I charge my premium rate. And I can save that nice and easy. And then I can repeat that with the weekends. So you can go in and duplicate these. And now you've got the ball going with the first one. It's quite easy because you just duplicate and then add them in. So quite an easy way to go through things. And the only other thing I will show you, oh, I added it in here, I have. Let's get rid of New Year's Eve 2025. So in this scenario, I have selected every day in the calendar. And what you can't have is two prices for one day for the same event type. It's just impossible. There's no way the system can handle it. So there is a conflict system in here, which I'll very quickly show you. So we'll call this New Year's Eve 2025. We'll call it 1,600 quid. Show it online. Price. We're going to go in for December. And as you can see, this has brought up a conflict. So it won't let me add this because it's going, hold on a minute, there's already a price for this date. What do you want to do? And it will show you which one you're working on, which is New Year's 2025. And it will show you where the conflict exists, which in this case is the wedding off peak 2025. So it means that a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday is where, or in this case, a Wednesday is where it falls on New Year. So it's already got a price attached to it. I want to remove that very quickly now. And I'm going to tick New Year's Eve 2025. It's going to resolve that conflict. Done. That now means that the £1,600 is overrided. That's all that a person will see on that specific date. So it's quite nice for bank holidays. I'm not sure if that's the correct terminology in the States or Canada, but your kind of holidays, those dates, Christmas, Boxing Day, those kind of dates, you can just go in and put a premium rate if you're in demand. And then you can drill this down as much as you like. I mean, my plan, I haven't shown it here because I thought it would be quite a lot, but my plan this year is to follow what venues in the UK does. So in the UK, I'm not sure if this is the same elsewhere, but venues will charge a lower fee in January and February versus in the middle of summer. I guess depending on what your seasons are like in each country, but I'm going to follow that pattern because it's the first thing that a wedding couple will ever see, and they're used to it. And that means that my 795 rate is now my low rate, and I'm going to increase my prices because I've got a system that can handle it and sell it without me having to try and think about it. It's just in there and done. So yeah, that's got some really powerful options in there. And then under here, this is geared up more for bigger companies and people who want to track their equipment. But you can actually go and assign the equipment in your system to different quantities. So if you've selected a quantity or both, and you've got three, you've now got three options here. And those are the three DJ packages because you've got three DJs, you've got three packages, and then I'm going to go through and pick the equipment with the right serial number on it, and I've built my packages out. And that will then automatically check in and check out that equipment so you can actually track where it is when it's due back. This check-in, check-out system will also work just for general hires and stuff like that, and you can manually override that if you don't want to automate it. So if you want a client to sign, maybe that option is there where you can check it out on your phone. You can get somebody to sign it, the DJ and the client. That will log that, and then the other end you can do that with the way back in. So really simple system. Whether you use this as a solo op DJ, I'm not sure. I personally will probably be toggling it off because I just don't need it as a solo DJ. But for these big multi-op companies, this was highly requested. And just to add to that, you can pull in equipment groups and subgroups. What that allows you to do is dump all of your uplight in a group because you don't really care potentially what specific brand or fixture it is. You just want this service to draw from an uplighting pot dynamically, and it will do so. So if you've got 100 uplighters in this group, you say in this one, we need 10, it will then just pull them through nice and easy, and it will basically stop you selling this service if you haven't got availability. This is what equipment is all about. I'm not going to go much further on that because I'd like to get it finished off, and we'll put together a really nice quick tutorial for this. But the only other thing is service dependency. So if you are picking this as an extra service, you can go in and tell the system that this specific service can't be booked without something else. Prime example of this is if this service right now I'm building is a printer, is an add-on printer option for your photo booth. I want to come in here and say, right, that's the photo booth, tick that. If they've not booked that photo booth, they can't book the printer and it doesn't show it to them. The other option is to, that's just the one, but you can also do it on all. So you can have that link to a magic mirror, a selfie pod, and an oval photo booth as well. So there's a bit of customization there for you, and this really is for the bigger companies that really want to get down in terms of kit management and stuff. So I hope that all makes sense. I think it's always going to be complicated, this, because it sets up the whole thing, but it's got its basic form, it's got its complex form for the DJs that want to use it. And I'm looking forward to getting everybody in, to be fair, and testing this out, because there's nothing, as far as I'm aware, like this on the market. Could be wrong, but I've never managed to drill this in depth just in an individual service anywhere. Right then. I think just very quickly, I'll show you equipment. Again, you don't have to use this as a solo DJ if you don't want to, but you can add equipment. You can add multiples of. Um, as you can see here, we've got like maintenance systems in here. So we go over to maintenance. I can see what needs maintaining, what ID number it is. That means that that's off the shelf. I will soon be able to look at the impacted bookings of what that has done by that piece of kit getting broken. So again, this is for those kind of big companies, or potentially a solo DJ that just wants to go, hold on a minute, one of my uplighters has gone. What is going to be the impact here? What else can we look at here? So you've got the track all system as well, which again, just in its final kind of development stage now. But what you'll be able to do is look at any item of equipment based on when it's due back in. And what it will do is show you the actual job. There will be an overall check-in and check-out button, which will then bring up that pop-up that I discussed with signatures on and stuff like that. Or you can check in individual bits of kit or groups of kit if for some reason something's been left at a venue because somebody's van broke. At least you know that it's not come back to your unit. It is out at X venue and you can see where it is, who was dealing with it. Again, just another beneficial thing for those big companies. This will also be duplicated in the calendars, so you can at least track services and equipment based on calendar view as well. Quite an easy system to use with this. Just go in, put in the equipment title. That equipment ID tag will auto-populate. Brand, model, serial number, color. You don't have to use any of these fields if you want. I think the only required ones are the equipment title and tag ID. You've got your categories, which again are preloaded into the system, which you can just delete if you don't want them. You can go and build equipment subcategories that we discussed when adding them to a service. And you can also build out locations as well. That could be specific shelf, which is what I'll be doing if I get into the equipment side of stuff. Or it could be different areas. So I know plenty of DJs that have got more than one unit based over different areas. So you can then kind of align this with that. You've got your asset description, which if you fill this in and you tick service or extra service, it will duplicate the bit of equipment as a service just to save you a bit of time if you want to hire up lighters. And so just bear that in mind when you put in that text in, that is going to end up what is shown in your proposals and brochures. And then you've got advanced settings, which I don't know how many people will use. If you're outside of the UK or Europe, pat testing is probably a wild kind of thing to hear about. But here in the UK, every 12 months, we have to electrically test every item of equipment we own. So you can track that if you're in the UK. You can also put your purchase date, where you got it from. Really helpful for just tracking warranty and stuff like that. So we're giving you the tools to really kind of track your business, every aspect of it, and centralize it. But at the same time, none of these fields are forced, so don't feel that you need to use any of it. Just use what suits you. And then finally, if you have got more than one item, you can come in and add multiple quantities just to make it really easy. There is a bit of a UI update coming with this as well, where when there are multiple items, you'll be able to flick left and right up here or select the drop down just so you can go and change those serial numbers. And I think the only other thing to mention is a bit like service bundles, which I mentioned to add services and extra services together. We'll be doing the same with equipment kits. So you can now add a microphone receiver, the flight case, the paddles, any other items that you want to put into a U-rack as individual items. So when they individually break, they've got individual purchase prices, depreciation rates, all that type of stuff. You can then just go and bundle that all together in an individual bit of kit, which then would be what you add to the service. So again, really in-depth, clever kind of bit of kit that you can use if you wish to really get in depth with your equipment. Right then, where else are we at? I'll have a quick brief look over staff. This is very easy and is really pending the calendar, I guess, but I can give you a bit of an idea of what the calendar is going to look like. So you can go in here and you can add staff. Really easy to do. We've got some role. In fact, we've got a huge amount of role updates, so don't take this as what it's going to be. It's going to be twice as long. There's going to be the booking manager or the client portal permissions and then the overall system permissions. I very sillily put in just the client portal permissions when I did the design. So we're going to do that in the next week or so. That's been done on the back end, just waiting for the pretty stuff on the front to come. All your usual stuff, user roles, where the member of staff lives, password, what their hourly rate is, or fixed rate, or whether it's a salary, or whether it's an event percentage, and you can go and kind of populate. We give them 50%, or this is done hourly and it's £50 an hour, that kind of thing, and that will pre-populate when you actually invite somebody to join an event, which I'll show you in a sec. You can upload a photo, and you can also add documentation as well. So here, upload files, you could be putting contracts, public liability, pat testing, all that kind of stuff in here. And yeah, that really is kind of adding a member of staff, nice and easy. And that will obviously trigger, if you haven't paid for them, that will be where that subscription side comes in. Or it will say pop up and allow you to use your free user. So you've got those two options there. We've then got view schedule, which you can look at as a company, which basically takes you into the calendar, or you can look at it per person. You can do the same with wages as well, which doesn't seem to work individually at the moment, which is odd, because it did yesterday. All it's really doing, if I'm totally honest, is applying a filter to the calendar or the wages. I'm just pre-doing that for you as a quick access. So here in wages, again, a bit like the tracking system, when's it overdue, how long until we need to pay this member of staff. To add a wage, if I go and pick myself, I can assign it to an event or I can opt not to, because you might have somebody come in and clean a van and you need to add their wage that isn't event specific. We'll go and add that. You put in a description if you like. Go and put in there, let's do event percentage. So you'll see that it changes here based on what it knows. I've obviously given myself a horrific hourly rate in this system. You can do it on a fixed rate. So you put in the hours and the amount, which will just go in at the bottom. And you should be able to select a payment type, but for some reason that's not playing ball. And then the date. And you save those wages, and that will go in as a line in wages. Really easy. It's very rare that you'll be doing this in this manner. I will show you now how you'll normally deal with this, but it is something to be aware of if you just need to add some random wages in just to track it. This, I think, will be really powerful when we get into phase 2. We're going to look at how this can work with QuickBooks and Xero, and whether there's any benefit there. And also with the payment processes as well is something we're going to start to explore once we get past launch, and whether maybe we can do something with the payment. Any information on how you pay your staff would be great. Some people just do cash back. So any feedback on that, please do let me know, because we're starting to explore that. Yeah, not a problem, Karen. I'll drop you a message after the call. And then finally, you can go in and add your payment types, which will come preloaded. Cash. That will be why the payment types didn't work. Didn't have any in there. I'll delete that one. You can reorder these, and this is how funnels work as well. But save that. Okay, error, bug, annoying. But yeah, that is the principle of how the wages will work from a manual perspective. And then if we go into the schedule, which I think is probably one of the most important bits, apart from the really bad alignment here and no images, this is will give you one view where you can pick a drop down and just quickly look at kind of like the pretty view, I guess, of what's on today, this week, this month, all. Or you can jump into the calendar view and really look at things normally. So based on day, week, month, and list. It's all very normal stuff. And that will be what's replicated over here in the calendar. But that will have so many more options. You'll be able to look at the staff, but also your leads, your bookings. You'll be able to look at the equipment, where that's going on specific dates. It'll just give you a lot more options. Right then, if we go in and show you staff assignment in the booking manager, I think that's a good place to be. Ah, they didn't fix it. I did tell him. Oh well. So we've been playing with mobile UI, which I'll show you very, very shortly. Which is why everything's gone into a long column. Every time we do it, we need to fix the desktop. But what you can do here is very quickly assign a member of staff. Now, if you assign a member of staff using the assign button, you don't speak to them. You've spoke to them already. Assign. If you request, it will send them a notification in the system. You can also send them a text message and an email at the same time, and then they can go into their calendar in the system and accept that booking. Just going to stop for a question because I've seen one pop up. Yes, F. So very quickly, it's not there yet, but this setting here, calendar integration, will work with your external calendars like Google, iCal, all those types of things. So don't worry about that. We're gonna be working out essentially what we limit going in there though, because our calendar is going to be so broad. We're going to give you the option to show leads, bookings, etc., etc. So yeah, that will be completely doable. A sync across the two if that's what you're indicating. Awesome. So back to this, I'm going to quickly show you request. So down here, we've got these additional send email request, send text request, and you'll pre-format that out in your settings. As you can see here, it's pre-populated with all my staff information, all of my staff preset role permissions. All I have to do here is even brought in the shift because it knows when the gig is. The only thing I have to do to get this to go through is tell it how I'm going to pay them. That's it. So really easy. It just pulls all this data that you've already set up. If I do this now with assign, shouldn't have. Oh, I suppose you can send a notification actually. The email, it will be more of a notification with assign versus a request, I guess. But select that. If I turn these on, it will then allow me to send those automated templates, assign, and that's done. And you'll see it says request accepted because it's just happened. I've assigned them. Whereas if you send it via request, that kind of system will kick in. So yeah, really, really easy way to assign staff. And you can actually do this in the event builder option. So in event builder, from the leads, not in here because we're pre-event. Let me go back to a lead. Just this, let me in. No, don't be like this. It's annoying. So you do also have staff option down here in the event builder. So if you just know, especially if you're a solo DJ, it's just going to be me, add it, and it just puts your pretty face there for the client to see. So yeah, that pretty much covers staff. I don't think there's, do you have a limit on staff, Dan, from Alan? So there's no limit on staff, but you pay per staff member. So I guess how much you're willing to spend is the limit. What the reason we've done this is it's all about storage for us and API calls. So to get really boring into how we get billed, every time you search for a venue and it uses that Google API, I get charged. So the more staff you have, the more bookings you're going to have. And therefore, that's why we've charged from staff, because you're also taking up storage, which is our other cost to run outside of all the usual stuff of actually continuing building. But yeah, that's why we've done it based on staff. So very quickly, there's a new little widget on the new website. So if we go to features, no pricing, sorry. It's probably a bit slow because I'm on the editing side. But you can go on the website and see how much it is going to cost you really quickly. So how many staff do you want? You can pick where your currency is and whether you want to do annual as well. Really easy. At the moment, it won't let you start a free trial. It will just ask you to put your email in. And if you're here, I'm assuming I have your email, so don't do that again. But yeah, really easy for you just to go and check how much it's going to cost. And as I said earlier, you've got these benefits of free staff accounts. So every one of those you pay for, you get one for free, and you can use them for 5 events in a 1 year cycle. That means for me as a solo DJ, if I've got a couple of gigs that I want to give to my mate, I've got that option without paying any more money. You also get your office staff for free as well. So if you want your partner or an actual office team to come in, if they're not being assigned to events, you don't need to pay for their account. Just going to add another question to this, I guess, from Cassandra. Hiya, by the way, congratulations. I hope you're all good. Um, if we prepaid for the promo and end up hiring someone, are we able to add? Yeah, so you can add staff whenever you want. In the subscriptions, I think I showed it just before you joined the call, but I'll do it now again, just why not? In the subscriptions, you'll see how many free users you've got. You'll see your invoices. You'll be able to pause people. So if they stop working for you, you can just say, oh, hold on a minute, I don't want to pay for this one anymore. It will then either open you up a new account option. Or, there's lots of ways that you can go in and manipulate this. So yeah, it's not just fixed to what you've got your early discount deal on. Don't worry. And the only other thing that is worth mentioning, which I didn't earlier actually, and I think this one's huge, but maybe more so for UK DJs, I'm not sure. But we're doing a friends for free system, which we're going to implement in the around about the beginning of phase 2. And what that means is if your friend owns a DJ company and you're both on planning beats, you don't have to pay for a staff member for them. So if you pass each other 10 gigs a year, you would normally have to pay for that member of staff because it's over the 5 free. Well, if they give you their little unique code that will be in their staff profile, send it to your mate. They add it in when they're adding the member of staff, and then it won't charge you for that account. As long as they keep paying for planning beats, it will keep that account there free for you. So it just allows solo ops more so to share work together and not get penalized. Thank you, Seth. It was really tough. I'm from the UK. We don't earn as much money. I don't know if you're UK based, US based, Canada. I think we've got Australia and New Zealand. But in the UK, we just can't. People don't appreciate, I guess, big events and entertainment quite as much as they do in America, at least over the pond anyway, probably Canada as well. So I always had to have half an eye on this being accessible for the UK market because I want somebody who is my brother's age, 16, 17, to be able to afford this, go and get 20, 30 gigs and grow his company. That's kind of the reason I'm doing this, alongside the fact that I can't find anything within a decent price range for my personal company that does what I want it to do, in a modern and easy to use style. But a core of this is just around making it good for the UK market. I'm not going to say competitors' names and how much I charge because, or how much they charge because I think that's unfair. But I pay £160 a month for a system that does what we're about to do, and in fact, probably less in some ways and slightly more in others. So, yeah, hopefully we've hit the mark here and not penalize small companies by going, hey, we're going to do this features split. So that was kind of the theory, but also not going too cheap that we can't deliver phase 2 and continue to build on it. So yeah, thank you very much for that comment. Oh, awesome, awesome. That's nice. That's good. That's what I want to hear. I'm only 29, but I started doing this when I was 13. So yeah, I've had many years to make lots of mistakes and work out how not to manage a DJ business, and hopefully I can bundle that all into planning beats now. So I think I'm going to show you some mobile view. Now, this is going to go into the booking manager because that's what we've started with. And that will then be the client portal with a slightly different view. But for me, the mobile and app war, I guess, which I'm getting at the moment, is really interesting. And I'm on a mission to prove that clients don't need apps. I keep hearing that clients want apps, and I've never had this. I've surveyed brides, at least in the UK. I can't say I've gone overseas yet. Um, and if actually the question is said to them correctly, not do you want an app? they're going to go yes. It's would you like to download an app that you use for one day of your life, or would it be easier if you could just access it all on your phone, on an internet browser? 9 times out of 10, I'm getting that. So phase three will be really interesting to see how the app goes. We've obviously put it in there. We're going to have some more discussions, but right now my goal is to get this absolutely spot on the mobile so we can all use this. The clients love it, we love it. So any feedback on this would be great. So this is very early stages. It's quite easy to do, so the team doesn't take them too long. But we've only started it about a week ago. But this is how the menu will pop up on the phone. You can then close it. We're adopting an approach where essentially, if it's got text with the button, unless it's on the client-facing side, if it's on the DJ side, it's just going to have the icon. So add here is add a lead or add a booking in this case. This is the funnel. Again, it needs a bit of cropping and stuff, but all the funnel will still work. You can drag it all around. You can add new funnels. Very easy to do. You can still scroll, and the only issue we're having at the moment, if you're in testing and looking at this, is it's covering this bottom section here. So we've just got to shift that up. We're also going to do something that allows, by default, the top URL and the bottom browser menus to disappear. So we're going to implement some code that means if your client saves it or you save it as a bookmark on your home screen, it automatically pulls those away, and then it just feels like an app, in my opinion. If you're on iPhone, you can test this. If you press the three little dots, it says hide all toolbars. That is how it's going to work if you save it on your phone. And we're going to try and work on a button that will allow the client to do that very easily. So you've got your quick links here, but we're going to the booking manager and just show you how we've changed stuff, I guess, based on how it looks in here. So this is what we're dealing with here in the booking manager. And then this is how it's going to look on the phone. I mean, I'm obviously very biased, but I think we've smashed this. You've got a different layout, but it just works. So like we've changed the event date option. We've split the start end time, setup and departure times, just so it formulates properly. I tested the other day, and if you hit the Google Maps icon on a computer, it opens the website, but it opens the app straight away. So I can go bot and I'm driving there. So all of this, again, phone, if you hit that, it will call them. It all works really well on the phone. Let me get one actually that has got some information in it. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? So you've then got your timeline, music, and questions at the bottom. I'm going to cover this mainly in a separate call in a week or two's time. I think it's next week's. But in here now, we're starting to kind of get how this is going to look. We've done, what did we do? We did add section. So you can still add a section on the phone. You can do all that kind of stuff. The drag and drop still works fine, although there is a bug with it, which I knew was going to happen. When you do it every now and again, it jumps, which we're fixing, but that still works fine. I've used this on touchscreen. It is highlighting some bits we've missed. So again, I got a message quite quickly actually off somebody reference, and that's not how leads are going to look. They look awful. This top bar here, you can't swipe it because I'm a Muppet and I didn't put a scroll bar in it. So we're going to add a scroll bar on desktop and on the mobile, so everything works just as a phone works, really. What else have we done and formatted? So conversations isn't in yet because that's the inbox, but again, a bit of formatting left to do here, but this is how this system's going to work. It's going to be like a pop-up. Here we go, the event team. So this all works. Have they done this yet? No, they've not done the next stage. I know they've not done this yet. So yeah, this is the next thing for us, and something I'm keen to get done probably what we got, a day or two in this week, to get this try to get this done this week, just so I can show you how people can add songs and the questions work on a mobile format versus the desktop. But yeah, all really cool stuff, really easy to use, and I'm hopeful that you'll all have the same experience. We've tried it on every different phone option possible, skinny, large, wide, but this is what the testing period over the next few months is all about. Well, as I kind of come to a close, I think, on this call, I just thought I'd ask if there's any specific questions. I know that um, it's a big system, isn't it? There's a lot that you can use, there's a lot you can ignore, and there's a lot still not here as well. So, is there anything that you specifically wanted to ask around features, how things are going to work? Have we considered stuff? Um, I'll leave it a couple of minutes if there is anything, and then if not, I think I'll let you all go and have dinner or lunch or wherever, whatever you need to do based on where you are.